That's where the continuity broke me. That's where it lost me.
That's where it lost you. Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of Cinema Decon, deconstructing and overthinking the movies of our younger years. My name is Steve, and on this podcast, we will revisit the movies that we keep in the back part of our minds as flawless masterpieces, untouchable by any criticism, and hopefully they stay that way. Join us as we rewatch a randomly selected movie from our list of 300 plus from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. With me on this journey is my co-host, Aaron, whom you can still find dialed up to Prodigy every night on his 28.8 kbps modem. How are you tonight, Aaron?
I'm hanging in there, Steve. This week has been kind of a pain in the ass, even with the holiday weekend. Thankfully, I was able to carve out some time here and there for a classic movie such as the one we're about to discuss. So what we do here at Cinema Decon is a rewatch of an old movie with the hopes that they're still as good or as bad as we remember them. Then Steve and I meet up to talk about it, point out our high and low parts, and then give it a rank and place it on our mega list.
So before we get into this week's movie, I wanted to bring up an idea that we had today, which is creating a Cinema Decon Hall of Fame. The idea behind this is after we review a movie, we pick someone from the cast or crew of that entire movie who we want to put on our Wall of Fame. Wall of Fame, Hall of Fame, same thing. Can be director, could be an actor, actress, writer, key grip, whomever.
What is a key grip?
I have no idea.
Rent that down.
We need to get a guest on here who actually knows movies.
No, absolutely not. I say we just continue with complete ignorance. It's been working for me all these years.
Do you want to go through the first 4 movies real quick and see who we can put on the Wall of Fame?
Yeah, I'm good for that.
Should be pretty easy.
I would think so. Starting with number 1, Coneheads. I think we were both, I have a feeling we're both in agreement on that one as the wonderful, talented Mr.
David
Dan
Spade.
Aykroyd.
Oh, yeah. Dan Aykroyd. That's right.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd. Little column A, little column B.
Yeah, Dan's a pretty easy target on that one. It was his movie, and he's going to be a Cinema Decon regular as we move forward.
I'm assuming you're writing these down because I'm not.
It's all up here.
Oh, then we're fucked. And the show has reached a new low. What about Independence Day?
For Independence Day, the two main thoughts are Will Smith or Jeff Goldblum, and my personal pick of the two, and maybe this is just the geek in me, is Jeff Goldblum.
And I was actually leaning a little towards Randy Quaid.
You're just trying to appease Tony.
Shut up. He might hear you. God. But between the two, if I were to go between the two of Randy Quaid and Jeff Goldblum, I would lean toward your side. Just between Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith, it's kind of a hard sell because those two together were perfect.
True.
But yeah, I'll agree with you on the Jeff Goldblum. Maybe it's also the nerd in me. I one day too hope to aspire to crash an alien system using my PowerBook.
Jeff Goldblum will also be a regular on many Cinema Decon films.
Hoorah.
Next up would be The Wedding Singer. What would your nominees be for that one?
Aside from the obvious of Adam Sandler and my obvious of Christine Taylor. Shut up. On that one, I would.
My vote's for Adam Sandler.
My favorite character out of that movie was John Lovitz.
That's a good one, actually.
John Lovitz's character on that. And I mean, do we have any other movies on the list that are Adam Sandler?
Oh yeah, Happy Gilmore's on there. Happy Gilmore, Little Nicky.
So he's got plenty of chances.
Oh, John Lovitz is a good one though. For his one great scene. It's like yes. Like Judi Dench winning the Oscar for 8 seconds of screen time.
I mean, it's To me, I don't know. Are we going for pretty much literally our favorite actors in each scene, or are we going for like the favorite characters type thing?
It's really whatever your view is of the movie. I mean, you could even say,
Steve Buscemi.
No, I can't think of her name.
Another one. Drew Barrymore.
Princess Leia.
Carrie Fisher?
Yeah, Carrie Fisher for being the script doctor that pumped up Julia's storyline. I mean,
that's correct. I forgot about that again.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever you view the movie as far as who you think should be.
Well, we have a couple Star Wars. We have a couple Star Wars movies on here. I'm sure Carrie Fisher will win one of those.
My vote is still I kind of like John Lovitz. I do. You won me over on that one.
Peer pressure, young. And then Wet Hot American Summer, dear God. Wet Hot American Summer for me would probably be Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd. He's really the only one you can pull out of there. That's to me an easy one.
As amazing things as he's done, that is probably his best bit of acting, playing a 16-year-old spoiled brat.
I agree. It's going to get a little harder with this week's movie, though.
I don't know. I kind of have a feel on.
I've been pondering it ever since we came up with the idea.
I kind of have a feel on mine, but we'll get to that later.
Today's movie is the 1995 thriller Hackers, directed by Ian Softly, starring Jonny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie, Matthew Lillard, and Oscar winner Fisher Stevens. He didn't win an Oscar for this film, though. No. Skateboarding skills alone, he should have, but yeah. So, Aaron, what do you remember of Hackers?
I remember that it was a completely accurate depiction of the information technology industry. That's a lie. I remember it as being completely hacky but still entertaining. It was very funny. It came out when I was obviously too young to be working in the industry, but I was still interested in it. I was one of those computer nerds in middle school. I can't remember the exact year that it came out. What do we have? Do you know what year it came out?
93, I think.
So I was so it came out in 93. I was a freshman in high school. I had been a seasoned computer nerd for quite some time. I remember watching it and enjoying it quite a lot, even though I knew, even at that point, that it was very hacky and campy, and it obviously took some liberties, particularly with the amazing Gibson computers that were the mainframes in that aspect. But I did enjoy a lot of the play on just random acronyms that the main character spun off. It was also funny because later in life, the story behind it that I recall is the main character was a prolific child hacker named Zero Cool, who was Zero Cool. You laugh, but I remember the shit. His nickname was Zero Cool, and he was arrested as a child and not allowed for being a hacker, and then not allowed to touch a computer until he was 18. And funny enough, post high school, I worked with a company back in Kansas where, and I won't call out names or anything, but one of the main executives at this company had kind of a similar backstory where he was arrested as a teenager with a similar type, Zero Cool sounding name for similar activities. I don't know if he was put through the same rigmarole as Mr. Zero Cool was, but it was kind of the same backstory where he ended up being hired as a CIO or CTO type person of this company because of his past at being this hacker when he was a teenager and being caught by the FBI. So that was kind of cool. When the first time I heard about that, the immediate thing I thought of was, holy crap, it's a real life Zero Cool. Or Crash Override. Yes, I remember it.
So I hope you're ready for this. I don't have any memory of ever seeing this movie.
Oh, this is going to be fun. I will tell you, this is an absolute documentary of how life in the IT industry is. I know you're a little removed from that being in your manager chair for all these years, but this will bring back some memories all your AWOL drives and the BLT systems, TCI, SP, whatever's.
I do know it has Angelina Jolie and Jonny Lee Miller. Jonny Lee Miller, who I know from the Elementary TV show.
Oh, yes.
But as a network engineer, I am ashamed to admit that I just, maybe I've seen it, but when I think of it, I think of sneakers.
And shame. Oh my God.
I mean, I know
that one I really want to watch.
Yeah, but I should have seen Hackers just based on my profession and
you really should
and experience, but I just have zero recollection of ever seeing
between Hackers, Sneakers, and The Net. You have to watch.
The Net I've seen, but the Net I have seen, but zero recollection of how
The Net
terrible
is an
it was.
Absolute documentary and is completely real to life, as we all know, just like Hackers.
So I'm looking forward to watching Hackers finally and committing this to memory.
Oh, crash and burn, baby. That's all. That's one of the biggest things. And freaking what was it? Matthew Lillard as
is he in
serial. Matthew Lillard is in there as serial killer. One of the great online screen names. That was a great time. Yeah, this was back in 90. No, Hackers was 95. So I would have been a sophomore or junior.
A quick Google though tells me that it does star Oscar winner Fisher Stevens, who we know lovingly as the sidekick in Short Circuit. So.
Yeah, a role that he could not play these days.
No, and he has gone on public saying he regrets the brown face he did in Short Circuit,
which I understand, but it is sad because he was very good at it. It also has Lorraine Bracco from Sopranos fame.
Oh, Goodfellas.
And Goodfellas.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will go off now and watch Hackers.
All right. Hack the planet.
There's a new virus in the database.
What's happening?
It's replicating, eating up memory. What do I do?
Type cookie, you idiot. I'll head him off at the pass.
We have a zero bug attacking all login and overlay files.
Run antivirus. Give me a systems display.
Now we've lost section 6 to 26. Nope, make that 10 to 40. And 1 to 6.
Die, dickweeds.
And we're back. We have watched Hackers in all its glory.
Glory.
We will likely have differing opinions on this film. You have the nostalgia factor. I do not.
Fair enough.
And I think that is a big factor in this movie.
Yeah. This is one of those movies that I jokingly, whenever anybody asks what it was like being a computer nerd in high school or what it's like getting into the IT industry, there are a couple things I direct them to. This movie is one of them. Just as
so you
joke.
Just flat out lie.
Oh, and well, you say that, but there are quite a few truth. They obviously Hollywood up a lot in this movie. A lot of the technical aspects of it. So they obviously Hollywood up a lot of these technical aspects, as they do in a lot of movies, because if you were to keep all these technical, nerdy computer type things at 100% truth, you'd lose a lot of people. And more than likely, it's going to be boring. Because let's face it, we're not all actually like super cyber sleuths 100% of the time. Maybe only about 30. And that's pushing it.
I think that might have been true for the mid-90s. I think that if this movie was made today with the same exact plot, it could be done so much better if they really cut out the goofy, made-up hackerness. If that's a word.
Hackitude.
The hackitude.
Copyright 2021.
I mean, there's really a great story in there. It's got a firm 3-act structure, and there's solid story arcs. It's all there, but they add in so much stupid shit that it loses me.
Exactly.
It really does. I was
gonna say, yeah. If you take away a lot of the silliness and campy styles that they go for portraying your typical, hippie computer hacker. The plot and backstories in here are actually quite good. I actually enjoyed the plot a little more because, like I said, it's been years since I've seen this, and I actually paid attention a little more to the plot this time and got a little more out of it. And I'll agree with you. If they were to make this movie today, they could probably do it a lot better. It seems like the thresholds for writing this kind of stuff has gotten up because so many people have realized this is just all campy and not true.
And even the hacking nonsense as far as the GUIs and the screenshots that they take as far as the awesomely powerful power books everywhere.
Oh, yes.
It's what lost me on this movie is the villain, the Plague.
Eugene.
And we'll get to that as we well, here, go ahead and give a plot summary for our listeners.
So let's see.
Spoilers for a 1995 movie.
Spoiler alert. A group of high school seniors, I'm assuming they're seniors. Yeah. A group of high school seniors get blamed by big company security officer for in a Superman 3 style theft escapade. I don't know. That's the first thing that I can get off the top of my head.
Yeah, pretty much. I did like the intro, the pre-act stuff where it starts off with the trial.
And even before that, the really creepy intro of the FBI. So it comes off in this really creepy camera, like fuzzy camera intro to the FBI closing in on our main character's house back when he is 11 years old. Oh yeah, the SWAT team. And there's no information about it at this time. You just know a SWAT team or an FBI team is basically raiding this kid's house, and then it jumps into the trial.
Slowly pans over the prosecution desk, and then get the defendant desk as the judge is talking, or no, as a young Felicity Huffman is talking.
Oh yes,
the prosecuting attorney was a very young Felicity Huffman, pre-Oscar and pre-felony criminal record for her.
Yeah, this was definitely like pre-Sorgan era, I think.
Before her 3 months in jail for the college tuition scandal.
Attica.
But then it slowly pans over, and right as the judge is sentencing 11-year-old Dade Murphy. So you realize that this whole intro is about a kid. And he gets sentenced to, I believe it's 7 years.
7 years.
He can't
probation.
Use a phone. Can't use a phone. Can't use a computer. He can't use a touchtone phone. He can use a rotary dial. Go 90s.
Because those still existed in 1995, millennials.
And their family gets charged $45,000, which in 1998 was about $100,000 today. So pretty significant. And then it jumps to what would be present day in the movie, so 1995. And I did love the transition from an aerial view of New York City to a circuit board.
Yes.
And the power running through it. That was nice.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, nice little fade in of a cityscape built onto a circuit board.
I did see a big skyscraper though with Pan Am on it. So I had to look it up, and that's actually wrong. Pan Am was discontinued by 95. So it was like 3 years prior. So
I'm wondering if that's how long it was in production.
It
they made that in like 92, made that intro in like 92, 93, or they were optimistic that it was going to come up.
But then it gets into a nice scene of the basics of social phishing.
Yeah, good old social engineering.
Which I say I enjoyed this whole scene. Yeah, the social engineering where he calls the security guard and just bullshits
as
his
Mr.
way
Eddie
into
Vedder.
Mr. Eddie Vedder. And he starts say the BLT file when
his BLT drive has gone AWOL, and he has a project due in the morning for Mr. Kawasaki. And basically, he's social engineering his way into finding out the modem phone number. That's all he's finding out.
Which, for anyone listening to this, that is basic social engineering. You get a call like that, and they're fishing for information, and it happens daily today. So don't be an idiot when people call you.
I was going to say that portion of it is 100% real, accurate. Whether or not any security guard's going to be fooled by Mr. Eddie Vedder is up for debate.
Yeah, he should have been lost at Kawasaki.
No, you know those Japanese engineering techniques or those Japanese management techniques.
Oh yeah. Did he have to wear sunglasses the whole time in his dark little bedroom? I mean, were those really necessary? He's no longer zero cool.
I don't know. I think he's zero cool until he gets caught by somebody and then realizes he can't say he's zero cool anymore. So he has to make something up. So in the meanwhile, what he's doing is getting this modem phone number, and happens to be a TV station. He's watching this really crappy like TV show of just a complete douchebag on a talk show. And he decides while he's dialed up to the station to basically connect into the VHS control system that controls what's on the air automatically and change the tape so he can start watching an episode of The Outer Limits.
Yeah. Then there's another hacker also dialed in that decides to challenge him to a hacker fight.
Basically, yeah, he's treading in on this other hacker's turf.
Acid burn.
So then they start getting into a hack off, for lack of a better term, to where they're basically keyboard warring each other to try to win the control of the VHS control system.
Yeah, that was my first red flag of what this movie was going to be. That it was the hacker fight. Like, oh, okay, I know what I'm in for now. Because then that goes right into the high school and rollerblades. Lots of rollerblades.
Oh yeah, everybody rollerbladed in the streets of New York City back in the 90s.
So in 95, I was a sophomore into computers and, just like everybody else of that nature. And I can honestly say that New York City high school in the 90s was nothing like rural Illinois in the 90s.
Same here.
Yeah. If any of that was remotely true.
Even in the biggest city in the wonderful state of Kansas, nothing like that. And I would have never rollerbladed to school.
As Dade, who is now known as Crash Override online, as he's walking through the hall, he has no idea where to go. Why he asks a guy on the phone for directions, I don't know. But the guy turns out to be part of his crew. But he ends up in the main admin office where he meets Angelina Jolie, whose name was Kate.
Kate Libby.
Kate Libby.
Yeah, Angelina Jolie, full on in Ferengi, not Ferengi. Angelina Jolie in full on Romulan / Vulcan hairdo.
She looked exactly like a next generation Romulan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the hair. Her clothes at some points in the movie, I mean, they were all Romulan-esque.
Oh God, don't get me started on the clothes. That was another weird ass trope in this movie, that all the hackers dressed as pretty much as absurd as possible. Which, I mean, the 80s were when we dressed absurd. We left that stuff in the 90s. It was all about the grunge era at that point. I'm not entirely sure if anyone actually dressed like this in the mid-90s or if it was all just on TV and movies, because I never saw any of it in person. Granted, wasn't in New York City. Who knows?
Same in my little town. Yeah, it was none of that. I did enjoy the pool joke on the new guys.
Oh, yeah. The Olympic-sized swimming pool on the roof that happens to be a locked door where all the nerds get caught. And then it starts raining.
But how many new guys do they have that day?
Yeah.
There was like a dozen kids out there.
Yeah, that was quite a bit.
Well, he does some hacking internal on the computers, and he gets into her class.
Goes in the computer class. He hacks into the student system, changes his class so he's in the same class as her, while the kid that he asked for directions on the phone earlier, which turns out to be Ramon, aka Phreak, is basically turned around and watching him do it. And that's when Phreak basically realizes, okay, he's one of us, kind of thing.
And he makes a joke that wouldn't fly today, because Phreak asks him, what's your interest in Kate Libby? And his reply is homicidal. That's not a joke that would get written today.
You're like physical, sexual, emotional, homicidal.
But along with Phreak is where we also meet Joey,
who's having a severe identity crisis of the online persona.
Yeah, he desperately wants to be one of the cool hacker kids, if cool hacker was a thing.
It is a thing. Don't disparage my people. But yeah, he's trying really hard.
He becomes important later.
The entire plot of this movie, spoiler alert, is all Joey's fault.
Yes. But
for the better and the worst.
You can also say it's his group's fault for not teaching him properly.
We're assuming they were teaching him at all.
True.
A lot of that, it seems, a lot of that culture, it seems like is you're only respected if you figure it out yourself. If I have to teach you, then all you know is the same thing I know, kind of thing. That's what I got from it.
You know, he knows enough to break into an oil company on his own from home. I mean, he knows more than what he lets on. He's just new. He's got talent, and untrained talent can be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So now that they know that Dade is a elite hacker in their eyes, at least in Phreak's eyes, they invite him to their what is this place they go to? It's like a empty pool thing with big video games. I'm not sure where exactly they go.
Yeah, it's some kind of underground party / arcade party or something. Which of course we run into Kate, aka we don't know her as a hacker yet.
We see that she's a gamer.
Yes.
Well, but before we meet Kate, though, we meet serial killer.
Manuel Goldstein.
Yeah, outside
AKA
of
Matthew Lillard. Yeah,
outside of this party place, Matthew Lillard is giving out mixtapes, mixtapes with singers who choked on their own vomit. So,
Hendrix, Joplin, Mama Cass, all artists fixated on their own vomit.
Yeah, Matthew Lillard was a pleasure in this movie. I will give you that. Yeah, his jokes and his acting. I mean, he's great. I like Matthew.
He does. About the only thing about him that I would say is pretty much most of the movies he's ever in, he's always the same character. Because like serial killer seems to be the same guy as his character in Scream, aside from the obvious tropes. The same Shaggy that he played in the live action Scooby movie. But I mean, it obviously works for him. The few things that I've seen him where he doesn't play that specific type character, it almost doesn't look right.
He blew my mind in the Twin Peaks season 3.
I have still not finished that.
His acting in that is just wow. Not something I was expecting this type of character when I first saw him on screen. It's like, okay, this guy's going to be the comic relief. No, it is. I don't know what David Lynch did to get that sort of emotion out of him, but it blew my mind. So he was one of the highlights of that crazy season 3. But yeah, so back into the party. That's where they all have a little sit down at a table. Serial killer, Phreak, Crash Override, and Joey, where they start throwing around some widely known, IBM and Unix manuals, show their street cred.
Which all those books are absolutely real. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing.
Yeah, serial killer is pulling out these manuals. By the way, cereal is spelled Cereal. So as in like breakfast cereal.
Cereal, as in Count Chocula. And Phreak was aptly named Phreak, which is an old school term for basically hacking,
phone hacking,
public phone systems,
which
he demonstrates early on in the movie.
Yeah.
Basically recording the sound of coins being dumped into a phone, and he basically has a Walkman with the tones recorded on it that he plays into the speaker. It basically tricks the system into giving him a free call. Yes, this is exactly what you did to get free calls back before pretty much all calls were free.
So cue up next day or that night, probably you've got Joey. He was trying to tell the guys earlier about how he can get into these Gibson computers, and they didn't really believe him or take him serious. So he's trying really hard to get something on disk to prove that he can
himself,
do it.
Kind of thing. Because he was telling them about how he hacked a bank system, or he hacked a system, wasn't sure what it was, which in all honesty, back in the day, that was in the days of dial-up, that was relatively normal, to where you do basically a war dialer system to get a bunch of active modems, and then you'd start connecting to him, prowling around to see if you can figure out what it was. So it wasn't out of the normal for him to start working on a system without actually knowing what type of system it was. So that's how he gets into it and realizes it's a bank. And that's when they all just kick his ass for it, because he has now hacked into a bank system in another state. I think it was like Seattle or something, across state lines, which of course is a big FBI issue.
Is it that table reading there where they talk about the four most common passwords?
Yes.
Like sex, love,
money. I always thought it was God, sex, love, and password.
They don't say password.
But that's not the four. I know that's not the four they gave, but that's what I learned.
Yeah.
Was password was one of the most common passwords back in the day.
Yeah.
And because
the password in question here is God.
Yeah.
God would never be up this late. So yeah, Joey that night hacks into this random available modem through Gibson and whatever, and uses the God password. He gets in, and this is another red flag for me, where we start seeing the super evil data center and the animations for hacking.
Yeah, the 3D representation of this giant Gibson system, which in reality is all text-based, what he's seeing or what he should be seeing. But no, he's in a full 3D environment.
Yeah, and he finds a garbage file, which seems significant. Garbage file where you dump stuff that you would think that is going to be garbage, but often not. And he starts copying it to a wonderful 3.5 floppy disk
over the sub 28.8K BPS modem. We know he was connected slower than that because they all freaked out when Kate's new laptop later has a 28.8 modem. So he's on a 14.4 maybe.
Yeah.
95. Yeah, the 28.8 just recently came out, I want to say.
Maybe that's why Acid Burn won that hacker fight.
Yeah? Blame it on the hardware.
Soon we find out that Kate is Acid Burn. So yeah. Spoilers there.
Of course. Everybody knows by this point, but
in the middle of this wonderful hack, it cuts to the actual data center, and you've got a random security guard played by Penn Jillette sitting in the middle watching screens. It's just so absurd. Of course.
Which is exactly what every data center looks like that I've ever worked in.
It's so ridiculous.
With they even have the physical glass towers behind them, as if the physical representation of the virtual Gibson.
Well, and you had electricity, bolts going
up the towers and everything.
No. Oh God, it was so absurd.
People getting into the IT industry because of this film were doomed to be so disappointed.
But this is where we meet Oscar winner Fisher Stevens, who skateboards into the data center in a very stoic, dramatic way.
In a giant mink coat.
With the wonderful line of, "Never fear, I is here."
He's got this huge mink coat, whereas Penn Jillette is wearing literally like a henchman, all blue jumpsuit. He looks like a henchman from Dr. No.
I love that Penn Jillette, though. He didn't even really want to be there. The way he delivered his lines and the way he acted was
really like, I need this.
I don't know if he was supposed to be that or if he just really didn't care. I think we're being hacked. What should we do?
Yeah. It's like 2 days to my retirement. Yeah, we're being hacked. What do I do?
But Fisher Stevens is where I started to I did not like the character. He is ridiculous. And he is in a different movie than everybody else. Everybody else is taking things serious, but he's doing such absurd things throughout the entire movie that he wasn't a villain. It was, I don't know. Did not like that character. He was just dumb.
He was half comic relief, half inept.
Yeah.
Villain that was smarter than everybody else, or at least he thought was smarter than it. He assumed he was smarter than everybody else.
He could have been a normal, what's the word I'm looking for? Sinister executive with the know-how of he makes everyone call him the Plague. And
yeah, which is your first
even
red
when you're
flag.
he's in a room with the executives the next day, and he actually tells like the president of the company next to him, "Don't call me Eugene, call me the Plague."
That was
Nobody does that. If he had a secret alter ego as the Plague as a side thing in this movie, and you don't know it's him because his executive persona is normal, completely different movie and much better.
agreed. And one of the funnier lines was when he first comes up, on his skateboard. Penn Jillette's like, "Mr. Belford, what do we do? It looks like we're being hacked." And he's like, "Don't. I told you to call me the Plague." And he goes, "Oh, Mr. the Plague, what do we do? We're being hacked." And Fisher kind of looks at him for a second and then decides not worth it. He just sits down.
But even one of the executives do that later. Mr. the Plague, what do we do now? But due to this inciting incident of Joey hacking this, they are able to get the Secret Service involved, and who's run by a young Wendell Pierce. It was nice to see him.
Yeah.
I always enjoy Wendell Pierce.
So the whole thing on that is they start tracing him back, and then as Joey's still downloading the file in mid-download, his mom comes in, tells him, "Nope, it's bedtime." She walks over and just shuts off the power to his computer. Don't ever do that. Oh my God.
Not 95, definitely no.
Oh no.
No, that shit's all corrupted now.
That's ridiculous. Apparently, he was downloading it directly to his floppy drive because he didn't have to copy. He wasn't downloading it to the hard drive and then copying it over.
Maybe he didn't have enough room for that. He didn't have enough room for that 1.5 meg.
That giant 1.44. Yeah. So he basically gets cut off before they're able to find out how much of the file he has, but they were at least able to trace the phone.
Now, this is all a very cautionary tale for any IT people out there against super users and ransomware. Super users can be a very bad thing, God passwords, and ransomware is a very real thing, as we all saw with the real live oil pipeline recently. So
exactly
the types of viruses in this movie, many of them are actual viruses, glorified with,
graphics
but the theory behind what they're doing is real.
And even the whole Da Vinci thing was a play on a real virus. By this time, the Plague, Mr. the Plague, gets the Secret Service involved. They raid just Joey's house. Thankfully, Joey was a little smart, and when he realized his download was done, he pulled the floppy drive out of his computer and basically hid it in an overhead air vent inside a Marlboro
Carton of
cigarettes.
Yes.
Marlboro. So then the next morning, Joey's in the middle of taking a shower with a Walkman on, like a full corded Walkman hanging over the shower.
He's got like Ziploc bags over the ends of the Walkman and the earbuds parts. And
The struggle was real, man. To which, as soon as he pulls back the shower curtain, a la Psycho style, there's the Secret Service, fully guns drawn. Which, that's another thing they did, is I think they seriously came out guns blazing on all these hackers, which is not something they would actually do. They would be standing there with a clipboard. They would have weapons, but they wouldn't be full drawn on these kids.
No.
They would be more like a Chris Hansen moment. Why don't you sit over here?
Did you notice the power glove during the interrogation scenes?
No, I missed it.
Yeah, when you've got Wendell Pierce and Mr. the Plague talking about how they're going to let him go and tail him, you got him in the background, trying to pick up his pieces of his computer. But then you got I think it might have been Mark Anthony, the Secret Service agent, putting on the power glove and like just looking at it on his hand.
Power glove. That just makes me want to do Wizard next.
But you do have a scene in the Ellison Mineral executive room where Mr. the Plague is briefing his corporate board about what happened. It's where we meet Lorraine Bracco, who's an executive on this board, who I will say looks very weird as a young blonde. It's not what I was used to for her. She's Henry Hill's wife in Goodfellas, which most people know her from, or from The Sopranos as the therapist. But but she still has that Jersey accent, which is very weird. Seeing her on screen
and
that way.
and still has the 80s hair at that point. It's a decade
with the
gone.
shoulder pads.
Oh, yes.
But then as they're leaving that executive meeting, we find out that Lorraine Bracco and Mr. The Plague are in cahoots, and the Da Vinci Code, the Da Vinci virus is actually a cover for their more sinister plan, which is they're doing the Superman 3 style, slicing the couple pennies here and there, putting it into their own account, their own offshore account.
Yeah.
So the Da Vinci virus was a failsafe, so that if they got caught, that got triggered so that they could blame whomever is a patsy hacker, and their scheme goes unnoticed, which is kind of a brilliant plan on the surface.
Exactly. There's kind of a smoke screen. So this, and the whole concept behind the Da Vinci virus was modeled after a mid to late 90s real virus called the Michelangelo virus, which was a real thing. It didn't do the same thing. It was more of just infecting and disabling computer systems in general, primarily Windows-based systems. But this is where the inspiration for the naming convention and the full-on graphic of the Vitruvian Man.
Yeah, I gave her a nice graphic.
Speaking like in a deep fake.
And the Da Vinci virus was designed as a ransomware that if they didn't do something, they would capsize several tankers out in the ocean.
Which apparently this entire company's tanker fleet had absolutely no manual overrides, which I think is also something that would never happen.
They say also a cautionary tale: don't rely too much on the technology side. You got to learn from Admiral Adama. Keep it off the network sometimes.
So basically, what he's doing is he's using this Da Vinci virus to basically frame Joey, saying that it was planted by him when all he was doing was getting this garbage file. The garbage file, which apparently has all the code and the money data for this original worm that he wrote to steal all the money, like $25 million. I want to say
$25 million. Yeah.
Yeah. Which again, good plot.
Yeah, it is. It was an excellent sinister plot in the background. Next up is the main group back at school the next day, where they start talking about how Joey got arrested. They assume it's because of the ATM machine. And they quickly turn towards, by the way, there's a party tonight.
Yeah. Hey, her friend got busted by the FBI and he's now grounded under probation, but let's go to a party.
Poor Joey. Well, originally he didn't want to go, but then they said it was at Kate's house.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It took a lot of arm twisting for him. Which at this party, I went to my fair share of parties in high school, and no, they're not like this.
This is a straight up like trance party.
It's a teen movie style party where there's a DJ in the corner and everyone's actually dancing, and
which of course yes, and then and by this time we've now met Lord Nikon.
Oh yeah, we forgot about Nikon,
named after his favorite photography system, who happens to be the DJ.
Well, wait, they meet him before the party, or when do they meet him?
Yeah, yes, that was before the party.
Okay,
because he was the DJ at the party.
It's at his little apartment where they watch the Razor and Blade. Apparently there's a UHF style public access TV show for a couple hackers that do hacking tips and tricks.
They look like total posers to Dade, who's the first time hearing about it. So he kind of writes them off as just being, fake celebrities.
Hack the planet.
And then they also they actually explain the whole phreaking concept that Phreak was using earlier.
But yeah, it's at Angelina Jolie's house party, where they start ogling her new laptop.
Yeah, and that's Angelina Jolie. She's got a nice house. Her mom is an published author, like best-selling like self-help books for women.
Yeah, it sounds like a man-bashing book series.
Yeah. So yeah, they basically break into her room, or just sneak into her room to oogle her new laptop with an amazing 28.8 BPS modem, which again is technically wrong. Which
she just lets them play on her laptop. I was kind of surprised that.
I mean, at this point, she hasn't noticed them yet when she bursts in with.
She's making out with her boyfriend. But even after, once the boyfriend's like, "You're not getting into all this computer stuff now, are you?" And that's your first clue that.
And she kind of shoos him away.
She's a computer nerd too. But then in this scene, we find out she's acid burn. But then then later on, like a few minutes later, she's letting Dade just type on her computer, and she says things like, I hope you don't type like you screw. So they start their flirting.
I hope you don't screw like you type kind of thing. So they're kind of flirting, but not really.
I enjoyed Jonny Lee Miller and Angelina Jolie in this movie. When I said that Fisher Stevens is in a different movie, these guys were playing their parts well. They were fun to watch. The whole crew, really. They all stereotypes, sure, but they all worked well together. Even Joey, who was supposed to be the annoying 16-year-old, he played the annoying 16-year-old well.
Yes, agreed. And then serial killer, basically just Matthew Lillard being Matthew Lillard, always having to crash at other people's houses.
Yeah, and they never explain his backstory.
Hey, can I crash at your place again? Sure, but they're all good with it. But then they also never go into him.
They also don't really go into within this dancing house party. You've got Mark Anthony undercover as a Secret Service agent. They just show him solo dancing in the middle of the room.
I want to say this is where they realize who Dade is.
No, not yet. He's still just Crash Override, who is an elite hacker. They don't know he's...
No. This is where the Secret Service and the FBI realize Dade Murphy is part of this crew. Because this okay. After the party, it cuts to...
It is after the party.
The Plague, it cuts to the Plague playing this VR melee combat game in his garage, which was very high-tech at the time, and that was a real thing. And then Agent Dick comes in and gives him the information that Dade Murphy, a.k.a. Zero Cool, is part of their crew. So they basically go hassle him and try to recruit him. They know he knows Joey. They know he's in the clique. They basically say, help us get this information back, or help us get this disc back. We know he has it, or I'll ruin your parole.
For Jamal out there, if he's listening, Agent Dick will always be known as Bunk. And for those, if you got to watch The Wire, if you haven't yet, but Wendell Pierce is always going to be Bunk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then next is where they go and they accost Dade in his room. Yes, this is where he meets Mr. The Plague.
Yes.
Who, again, he's in a different movie. He's smashing up his stereo. He's going all crazy.
And he starts smashing things with a baseball bat.
Secret Service just lets all this happen.
Yeah, that would not fly.
If Agent Dick Bunk was in on it, I could see him giving the Plague some leeway, but they never let into any of that if he was in on this whole thing. But yeah, they just let this random guy harass a high schooler.
And I'm thinking maybe it was done this way to make you think that he's in on it.
It could be. I mean, they obviously have an outside the office friendship, but I mean, they don't typically say it.
Yeah, and I think that whole thing is basically Plague helps Dick catch, young hackers, which makes Dick more popular and gets Dick TV interviews.
Yeah, it lets him move up the ranks. Yeah. So now Dade has an internal crisis. He can he's been outed as far as to the authorities who he was, Zero Cool. And he has an offer. He can pretty much turn on his friends and turn over that disc, or he could not do anything at all.
Not help. And then the Plague has basically said he'd make his life a living hell, or cook up something to violate his probation.
So now Dade has his internal crisis. He's got a new group of friends. He's got a love interest, and he's got the corporate espionage people that are pressing down on him. So what does any high schooler do in that dilemma? You dream about Angelina Jolie's boobs.
Naturally.
Yeah.
And then immediately getting arrested afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, you combine them all in one dream.
And then right after this whole thing happens, that's when they start their little hacker challenge. That's when they start the little bet. Yes.
Yeah, they have a bet.
Belongs in the group. So this honestly, this was the funniest part of the movie to me. Was there?
Yeah, this part was good.
Fight, and it wasn't so much a fight. It was basically who can hack the best.
Hackathon.
And they decided to make the bet around hacking Agent Dick and messing with his life.
Who can harass him the best.
Which is correct. Exactly. Who can mess with him the best? The stakes were that where did I get? If Kate wins, Dade has to be his slave. And he looks at her and she's like, not like that, dumbass. You basically do all my grunt work, get me coffee, shit like that. And if Dade wins, Kate has to wear a dress on their first date. To where we then jump into the semi-montage of them getting ready. Dade's practicing quick draw on 3.5-inch floppies in the mirror a la Taxi Driver. You talking to me?
That was so dumb. Multicolored floppy disks.
Yeah, because nobody's ever done that.
I think he's got it sticking in
yellow,
his belt,
red, blue.
quick draw.
Nobody's ever done that before.
Yeah, they give they give Major Dick a record, like a couple DUIs and stuff. So it shows him getting arrested on the hood of his car.
Yeah, they go through and they max out or cancel his credit cards. So as he's out to dinner with, I'm assuming, his wife or a girlfriend, the waiter comes back and cuts his card in half, which is that an actual thing? I've never seen that anybody.
It's just a dramatic movie trope. You see it all the time.
I was gonna say they can't do that.
No. As a young soldier, my card was declined many times. So yeah, they don't cut it.
I think that was Dade doing the credit card hack, to which Kate returned by signing him up for a ton of personal ads. At that time. So basically he was getting phone calls, a lot of phone calls to his work phone, which, like an idiot, he was answering on speaker, some of them, in his desk while people are walking around. And he's personally answering all of them. Yeah, the next one they did on him was they gave him the false warrants for arrest. So I got him pulled over and he's sitting there like, you know who I am? You know who I am? Kind of thing. And then finally, Dade sets his medical records as deceased.
Oh, that's right. That was the final one.
So
that was good.
So the crew decided that it was a draw up until then because he's dead. What else can they do? This is when they're about to set the next round of stakes, which is whoever loses has to wear the dress, including Dade. When
now this is when the plague comes back and threatens the mom.
The plague FedExes him a laptop that just has a video file on him of basically how he's threatening him to help him, or he's going to issue warrants for his mother's arrest in like Washington State, and then sick the FBI on him. And then after she's arrested, he's going to go in and delete the records so that she gets lost in the system. Which again, kind of a sinister thing to do.
Oh,
and a real life issue that could possibly happen. Yeah, because Joey got out and gave the disc told the disc to Phreak, and Phreak, to which Phreak, after he gets picked up, again, Phreak's a jailhouse phone in a very real way.
Yeah,
to be able to call a number other than the one they gave him, and tell Kate that it was in that place where he put that thing that one time. Mm-hmm. Which happens to be behind a condom machine. They go to Dade to ask him to help. He declines and he finally tells them why. He finally tells them that he's zero cool and he can't do it, or because I think that was part of his probation, is if he's ever found, if he ever does anything like this again, he's going away for even longer. But he at least agrees to create a copy. So he makes a copy of it, and that's the one, as you said, in the weirdest fucking scene.
Yeah, the weirdest scene in the whole movie.
He waits out on a...
You got Dade out there at an abandoned street corner in the middle of the night, and a limo starts pulling up, and on the back side of the limo, you've got Oscar winner Fisher Stevens on a skateboard being pulled Marty McFly style. And then he rides a skateboard past Dade, grabs the floppy disk, and then goes up to the next curb and then gets into the limo and drives away. That was so odd.
Did he actually get in the limo, or did he just stay sketching on the back of it? Okay.
No, he gets into the limo. I mean, all he had to do was just ride the limo, grab the disc, and then keep going. I mean, there was no need for the skateboard at all. I don't understand it.
Again, it's just pushing that whole trope of all hackers are hippie skateboarder trance type people. I mean,
it reminds me of Steve Buscemi meme with, how you doing, kids?
Yeah, how you doing, fellow hackers?
He's just trying too hard. I don't know. I don't understand the skateboard thing. It was completely out of place.
So, unbeknownst to the Plague, this is a copy that he gave him. So
the whole team is able to take the actual file, figure out what the Plague is actually doing, and they see the money, they see the ticking clock within the code that within a short time these tankers are actually going to capsize and cause a major environmental situation. So they're running out of options, and all they can really do is hack the Gibson.
And I was wrong before. This is the scene where he tells them all that he was zero cool. It wasn't before when he reflected it, because Nikon's there, and Nikon was like, "You're zero cool? Man, I thought you was black." What? It was damn funny. Which is funny. So yeah, they decide now, since they don't have a complete file, they can't prove it. They decide they have to hack the same Gibson, find that same garbage file, and get the full thing so they can have it as proof.
Explain their hacking plan at the end. See if you can.
So there's a couple things they did in here. Kate and Dade were scouring garbage for printouts and information in order to make like security badges for their corporate office, as well as information on what type of uniforms they have, things like that. To which a security guard comes out, tells them to scram, and Kate fires a fucking flare gun straight at him.
That's right.
Like that's gangster right there. Cyril and Nikon steal a utility systems manual or diagramming manual from a road crew while they're out there. And as they get caught, the guys just scream, "Gar!" and make the guy jump back down. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was good. But Nikon also goes undercover inside the building to because he's got the photographic memory. So he's looking for passwords.
And he walks right by the Plague too, but the Plague doesn't know him yet. And at that point, that's about the time, 10:30 that morning or so, Plague launches the Da Vinci virus to basically start filling up the tankers. He launches it so it'll go off at 10:30 the next morning in order to try and get this hacker group off the streets. So he's using that, hey, they launched it, you need to go pick them up now kind of thing.
Yep.
Unbeknownst to him, serial killer who planted a phone tap under his receptionist's desk very oddly as she was still sitting at the desk. Yeah, so they know that warrants are coming out for like 9 a.m. in the morning. Dade and Kate then go to find the real Razor and Blade at this, again, techno nightclub thing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they have to go recruit Razor and Blade as part of their hacking team.
They need more help. Yep. Because out of the four of them, they're not going to be able to do what they need to in time without other people, without having more people to basically use up all the resources and run interference, which is eventually what they basically need. It's kind of a DDoS.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
But of course, Dade thinks these guys are just phonies who are using hacking to get famous and everything, but it turns out they really are, elite hackers, and they are on the back end while the rest of the thing is going up. They're recruiting all their friends and known hackers from around the world, which is the scene where they finally come in is the first time you see a hacker that doesn't fit the hippie trope. Is the French businessman who's sitting out drinking tea.
Did you catch who that was at all? I don't. It's a hard one. It's
No, but going by memory, the first thing that comes to mind is John Hurt.
It's actually David Stewart of the Eurythmics in a cameo.
Oh.
The non-Annie Lennox part of that duo. Nice little cameo.
Interesting.
So then is this where the traffic light hack comes in?
Yeah. So they all exit and converge going to Grand Central Station right around 9 a.m. They know they've got tails on them. And that's when they hit the hack for all the traffic lights, basically turn all the traffic lights green to cause all the cars to wreck while they're in rollerblades.
And maybe this is the adult in me. Yeah. How many people died during that traffic light hack? That was reckless and dangerous. And and maybe it's me being old. That one was dangerous.
Yeah, that's you being old.
Everything else has been targeted to the people involved. That one, innocent people probably got hurt.
I don't know. I always got the sense that, and again, I've never been in New York City, but I always got the sense that because there's so much traffic in New York, nobody ever drives that fast. So anything like that is just all real slow hits that just piss people off.
Yeah, but you got a lot of pedestrians.
And that's how they depict it in the movie.
This is where we get even more power books everywhere.
Yes.
They all commence on Grand Central Station to a bank of payphones. And Dade puts something weird over his eye, which I don't understand the point of. What was that?
Yeah, it was like his X-wing targeting computer dropping down over his right eye. Nobody else had this. I love the little pan across as everybody's opening their laptops and everybody has their own customized boot screens.
Yeah,
like Joey's got the little happy face, and then serial killer. I can't remember what his was, but I think it was serial related, like it was Count Chocula or something. And then of course, Acid Burn has her fire logo, which was the coolest looking one. And then Crash Override has just a bunch of warning labels, which is kind of silly.
I loved the line, though. Use your best viruses to buy us some time. Like all these guys just have custom viruses, I guess, that they're going to throw into this machine.
Do you not?
I mean, you had your own custom viruses, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could use the run-of-the-mill ones, like the ones I got at Walmart, but I like to tweak mine a little bit.
Yeah, no, you got to use your best viruses.
Oh, I only have some average viruses. Sorry.
Now is the big climax of the hacking of the Gibson, and you've got these guys throwing their best viruses. Cookie Monster.
Yeah. Whereas now so they flash back and forth between them doing the hacks and planning the viruses, and flash back to the Gibson mainframe with Penn Jillette asking the Plague what he should do.
Run antivirus.
Yeah, run antivirus. And when Lorraine Bracco's standing behind them, like trying to understand any of the terminology.
It's like any executive in an outage situation, you know, to the network guys, fix it.
Penn Jillette's trying to explain to her what's going on, which annoys the Plague because he's stopping what he's doing to explain to her. So he's like, God damn it, get back to your job kind of thing. To which this is about the time where we do find that between Gillette and the Plague, they're able to kill off the oncoming attack faster than they can launch them. I do also like the kind of montage at the beginning of it where you have the spinning phone booths as they right, and you have them all in separate spinning phone booths.
Yeah, that was a nice shot. It was much better than the distracting visualizations of the hacking, the 3D.
Yeah. Then all the equation letters and everything flying over their face as it's projected on their face. Kind of.
I know that it's much more entertaining than just watching people type code.
It's really not. Enhance. Yeah, they're trying to find the same garbage file for one, and then everyone else is trying to run interference. And as they get kicked out of the system one by one, it finally ends up kicking. Dade locates the file and then gets kicked immediately. So they finally have to go up to Joey. Kate receives the call from Razor and Blade saying, "Are you guys ready? Let's go," kind of thing. And that's when they organize all the worldwide hackers to basically come in and DDoS them,
hack the planet, code word,
to basically give the Plague something else he has to fight. So he can't pay attention to Joey finally finding that file. I found it humorous that they're depicting the hacking the Gibson literally on his screen as that full 3D VR. And then when Dade gets kicked out and he has to come up to Joey and he's like, "Okay, I found the garbage file." And then he starts reading off the path name to it. I'm like,
"Oh, really?
Why aren't you telling him to go left and then right and then left? Because it's a VR. So that's where the continuity broke me. That's where it lost me.
That's where it lost you.
And as he's still downloading the file, you flash back to Fisher Stevens, who is just going nuts because his system's getting completely overloaded. But he's kind of lost his mind at this point.
Well, they do finally. The Secret Service gets to Grand Central Station, and it shows them closing in on closing in on the phone booths, and then they finally get to him, and then they find out that the phone booths are all jacked into each other, and it was all they're on a different floor.
They've got the phone booth handsets duct taped together, which for one, they've got them duct taped together the wrong way. They're basically going I'm telling you, they're going earpiece to earpiece and mic to mic. So that wouldn't work.
No, that wouldn't.
I know, understand. Yeah.
Yeah, I get what they were going for, but
like that, they needed to flip one of them over. So I get what they were going for. I also am not sure, and this might be worth a Mythbusters, but I'm not sure if taping the phone sets together like that would give you enough signal fidelity to be able to do what they were doing.
I doubt it.
I mean, it's 28.8. But again, it's a nice it's actually a cool concept of how to reroute phones through a public pay system.
It gives them just enough time to finally get that full file, and then they all get arrested. But serial killer was not in the group. He was outside.
Yeah, I can't remember what they sent him out to do.
Oh, I just figured that was part of the plan, like keep one outside.
So as they're walking by a trash can, Dade does this nice little lift of the disc from his back pocket and two fingers it into the trash can.
So serial killer is able to dig through the trash and find the disc, and he's able to take it to Razor and Burn, Razor and Blade, and they
decode it and find out everything.
Everyone's getting arrested and arraigned. They are able to broadcast and hack into all the airwaves and pretty much air all the dirty laundry of Mr. the Plague, the root of the worm, the root of the Da Vinci virus, and just pretty much lay it all out there. And the good guys win.
Yeah. But the funniest part out of that one, I think, is right as they get arrested, you jump to Lorraine and Fisher Stevens celebrating. You know, we just got away with it. Yeah. We've got our $25 million. They clink glasses of champagne and then just book it upstairs. To the next scene, as Serial's broadcasting all this information, he's literally framing Lorraine because it was her account that it was under.
Yeah,
it shows her waking up from the bed, going, "What the hell?"
And he's gone. The Plague is gone.
And then she's like, "Son of a bitch, Eugene!" She turns to the side and he bolted. Yeah, Fisher Stevens is nowhere. Next time we see him is in a complete like wig and makeup kit with a new accent, something he's obviously good at, on a plane out of the country, but not fast enough.
And this was weird because he was in the air on a plane to Tokyo. Mm-hmm. So they waited until they're mid-air to arrest him. That's a 15-hour flight from New York. They got a long wait, is all I'm saying.
The only thing I can think of is he was able to evade him so long. Maybe they wanted to make sure he couldn't get off the plane.
Maybe hopefully it was still over the U.S. and they could land somewhere and let him off. Well, I don't know why he was going to Tokyo. You'd think he would have went to some
non-extradition.
Yeah, but then you've got they Crash and Burn. Their challenge is now over. So
yeah, they decided that Dade won for the sole purpose of they believed that was the only way he was ever going to get a date. So that was kind of funny. So now you have Angelina Jolie in this techno
Romulan dress.
Yeah. Hey, it worked for me.
Yeah. And they go swimming.
Yeah, up on the top of a building, to which he has her look over at the side of three other buildings where he has hacked in and made all the lights in the offices read "Crash and Burn" on the three skyscrapers.
It's a good ending. My thoughts on this is that there's a lot to love, but there is a lot to hate in this movie. And like I said at the beginning, I didn't have the nostalgia glasses going in, so it was all very odd to me, especially during my current career and seeing all this stuff. It was certain parts were just absurd and distracting. Is it a serious tale of kids caught up in a heist between a villain and the Secret Service, or is it a cartoon spoof of the hacker subculture and cybersecurity in general? Which movie is it? And
yes,
there's Miller and Jolie were in one movie and Oscar winner Fisher Stevens was in another. I would say go watch Mr. Robot instead. If I had to recommend this or recommend a hacking thing to someone, go watch Mr. Robot.
If you want realism to what it's truly like in in that type of life, then I would say yes, Mr. Robot, Silicon Valley, less of the criminality part of it and more on the actual IT-ish part of it.
The mundane IT.
Like I said, IT.
Have you tried turning it off and back on again?
Or the IT crowd, if you want the funny version of how really mundane that is. But from just a story point, if you take all the campiness and all the Hollywood hackism that are in a lot of these movies or in TV shows, I still think it's a very solid plot with pretty decent characters. Again, I'm kind of with you on. I liked Fisher Stevens, but his character. I liked his character, but his character did not fit in this movie.
No, not at all.
Whereas Jonny Lee Miller and Angelina Jolie, and I'm not the biggest Angelina Jolie fan. This is one of my favorite movies of her with her.
Oh, I actually have that as a note that she is oddly, likable and cute and charming. And that's just not. I'm not a big Jolie fan either.
This is her least Tomb Raider-ish type role.
Yeah, she always, in her more recent movies, she comes across as, I don't know, snobby, elite sort of mannerisms. Mm-hmm. And granted, I don't know what she's like in her personal life, but that's the character she plays. And this one seems, just likable. But once she opens up after the whole, you're not getting into that computer stuff now, are you? From then on, she's very likable and very, just charming. Good chemistry with Miller.
So an interesting note that I found out that after this movie came out, the phrase "hack the Gibson" turned into an Urban Dictionary type slang for married IT personnel that meant masturbation.
Really?
Hey, I'm gonna go hack the Gibson. So now I'm going to be using that. Not that I hacked the Gibson or anything.
Three interesting bits of trivia I found. Jonny Lee Miller and Angelina Jolie were married shortly after this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I did not know that.
And then they got divorced 4 years later.
Not bad for a Hollywood marriage.
The garbage file was 666K. So 666.
Remember back when 666K would have been a lot? That's almost half of that floppy disk.
Yeah.
Can you imagine filling up half of a hard drive with nowadays with one file?
And then this one, considered for the role of the Plague, was Quentin Tarantino.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, that would have been a different movie altogether.
Yeah. Although he might have made it a little darker. And again, that wouldn't fit in this.
Quentin, if you're listening, you need to make Hackers 2.
Absolutely.
I know. You sent me an article that the original director's trying to get Hackers 2 made, which you're never going to get. Same crew. I don't think you're going to.
Unfortunately. It would be nice to have one that was in basically the same crew 20, 30 years later, where they're all grown up and have respectable jobs now and have to get pulled back into that life. They're out of the life and they have to get pulled back into it because their kids or someone they know gets framed type thing for maybe a ransomware.
We were talking in text message about this, but my pitch for that would be serial killer is now he's heading a Google or Alphabet or some sort of high-end big tech company, and he has completely sold out. And he's the villain now. And so maybe he has a change of heart somewhere, and then this is based on me seeing Matthew Lillard in Twin Peaks. He can do it. It would be fun to watch. He's no longer the hippie. He is the reformed hippie as that executive telling his friends to grow up and get a real job while he's doing sinister stuff. And maybe it's all twofold. Maybe he's got that persona, but he does have that secret identity where he's actually still trying to stick it to the man in his alter ego online. There's plenty of different stories. They could easily do a good story with all these characters 20 years later.
Yeah, I just don't see the actual actors coming back for it, unfortunately.
I think you could get everyone but Jolie, I bet.
Yeah, that'd be good though.
But if Quentin Tarantino was directing it, you could get Jolie.
Oh,
that would be the draw.
There you go. So Quentin Tarantino, if you're listening, note number 2, make a darker version of Hackers 2.
And that's of our usual questions as far as what a different version you'd like to see. I would have liked to see this done as a serious heist movie and take out the cartoony shit.
But again, that has been done. Maybe not as much as that time, but the full-on serious ones have been done. As much as I can say, I'd like to see one type of movie like this where all the IT workings were 100% authentic. I just know that how boring that would be to anybody that's not in it, in IT, and even boring to most of us that are. It's one of those things. It'll have to be done once just to show everybody this is why we make things Hollywoodish.
As technology's improved and storytelling has improved, they fit hacking elements into many things nowadays. In Madam Secretary, the U.S. government hacks Moscow and causes a 2-minute blackout just to show the Russians that we can. It's done in a dramatic, intense scene. Things like that, and it's not. They don't use like the Jurassic Park. This is Unix. I know this sort of visualizations. It's all just in.
That is my favorite.
It's in the situation.
Scene in that movie. I love that. This is a Unix system. I know this. Meanwhile, full-on 3D model, just like this.
Would you like to see this movie told from a different perspective? I put Wendell Pierce for that. I would love to have seen, only from his point of view, where he has no clue what these idiots are saying. He's being duped by one side, and these kids are running circles around him. Just more of that. I would enjoy that.
I was sort of on the lines. I picked Mark Anthony as the guy who's working for the head of the FBI or Secret Service task unit, where Mark Anthony knows this guy has no idea what he's talking about, but he's getting all the press, he's getting all the notoriety and everything. So it's Mark Anthony in the background trying to actually, be the one to save the day, and he never gets the credit.
Well, see, I thought they were setting up Mark Anthony to be a hacker himself, just in secret, because when the other guy was reading the manifesto earlier in the movie, he's like, that sounds cool.
Exactly.
And then he, dancing with the kids and just.
I have a theory that was a storyline that got left on the cutting room.
It may have been, because it feels there's a couple pieces there.
Yeah, I have a feeling that was something that was possibly in the works and it just got left on the cutting room floor, because you didn't really see Mark Anthony that much afterwards. I don't recall seeing him in the second half of the movie much, if at all.
No, I don't recall either.
Not even when they all got arrested. Maybe.
No, I only watched this the one time. So, I may have missed a few things.
I mean, and I've only watched it the one time in the last 10, 15 years. So it's been a while.
So who would you recommend from this movie for our new Hall of Fame?
So from this one, my first thought was Fisher Stevens, but like you said, from as an actor, he's probably my favorite out of this movie. As a character, he wasn't my favorite character in this movie. Honestly, Jonny Lee Miller, his portrayal in that, and especially considering I've seen him in several other things.
I know he's in Trainspotting, and then Eli Stone in Elementary. This was a hard one. I mean, I'm a big fan of Matthew Lillard, as I've mentioned several times. I'm leaning him, but I mean, you got Angelina Jolie, who has had a tremendous career, Oscars.
And that's actually a really good point with the fact that Angelina Jolie, the fact with Angelina Jolie was able to play a non-typical Angelina Jolie character. Again, I know this was earlier in her career, but I really liked her too. It is hard.
I think my vote has to be Angelina Jolie, though.
Yeah, and I can go with you on that one.
Now is the time on our show where we rank the movie based on our fan review while also adding in the IMDb rating. This is a 10-point scale, and the average will put the movie in our mega list. So, Aaron, what is your rating for Hackers?
So, like as you mentioned a couple times, I am burdened with the nostalgia factor on this movie. I obviously recognize that a lot of it is very Hollywoodish and campy, and yet I still enjoy a lot of the old school references and even a lot of the jokes about it. So I enjoyed this movie. I'm pretty happy with it. You got to take this one with a grain of salt. This is not what the real lifestyle is or even was back in the 90s. Even though, I got into this type of thing, not so much the illegal portion section of what they were doing, but I got into this type of stuff back when I was in middle school in the late 80s to early 90s. And I can tell you for a fact, I never went to any trance parties. So I'm kind of pissed off about that. But I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. So, I mean, I would give this a 6.7.
I enjoyed the movie. It definitely was not a great movie for me. Like I said earlier, I don't have the nostalgia to bump it up a little bit. It was just too campy in places. It was all over the place. I did enjoy a lot of the computer elements that they got right. Had I seen this when I was 15, when it came out, it probably would have changed my life a little bit. But I was already kind of on the IT track anyway. Even kind of changed a report card once. Aha. Not in the system. We just got our hands on the same paper that the office used. So I was able to print my own report card.
So not so much hacking, but forgery.
You could call it that. But yeah, I changed my grade from a very low grade to a C. You don't go to A, you just go to
no. You never go full A.
No, so I was able to just not get in trouble from my parents. So sorry, Dad, if you're listening.
That's right up there with changing our birth dates on our forgery driver's licenses, which we didn't do, Mom and Dad.
So my rank for this movie is a 6. They could have done a lot of things different and bumped that up with a good heist movie, but they just didn't.
All right. So we have every time you say heist movie, I just think of Rick and Morty. I fucking hate heist movies.
20 minutes in and out, Morty. That's it.
Quick adventure. IMDb has this at a 6.2.
So we're right in there. In there. So by our powers combined, 6.3.
Hey, there we go. We raised it a point.
We raised it a point.
We raised it a 10th off IMDb.
Yeah.
Hack the planet.
So this one is definitely our lowest ranking of the 5. But it was enjoyable nonetheless.
I'm okay with that, but it was still enjoyable.
If you're in the 6 range, it's still a decent movie. Once you get into the 5 and lower.
Yeah, and just knowing what else is on this list, I know it's not going to end up being our least. Lowest.
No, not at all.
Oh, God, no. This could still make the top 10. So about this time, we like to do a little media pitch kind of thing of what other types of shows or other movies we've watched recently. Just give a little shout out or recommendation on something else that we've also watched recently. Steve, do you have anything that you've been watching recently that you'd recommend to our listeners?
So lately I had the opportunity to rewatch The Hateful Eight, Quentin Tarantino again. So,
yes.
I had a couple hours to spare, and I saw it there, and it's a great movie. It's one of my favorite from Quentin Tarantino. I know it's gotten a bad rap from some for being too long, or how it was shot on odd 70 millimeter or whatever. That. But
I always like that one.
It is slow starting, but once they get into the have you seen it?
Yeah, it's very Reservoir Dogs-ish in how they shoot it. Where it's no real action most of the time. Yeah,
this is non-spoiler for anyone that hasn't seen it. I'll just say that you got a group of guys out in the middle of a snowy tundra, Wild West style, and once they get into they all get snowed into this cabin, and it's kind of The Thing meets Reservoir Dogs meets 12 Angry Men. And you've got nobody knows who's aligned with who. Nobody knows each other's agenda. People start dying and nobody knows why. You can even throw Clue in there. It's also a little bit of Clue as far as
nobody trusts anybody. Obviously, it's set
you've
in
got
the
a powerhouse
late
of
1800s
actors.
or late 1800s at the just after the Civil War.
You got a powerhouse of actors with Kurt Russell, Samuel L. Jackson, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Michael Madsen. There's a great cast of characters who are all just putting in great performances, and as with most Quentin Tarantino movies, it's, it escalates into craziness. But if you're
3
hours to spare,
Reservoir Dogs, as you're saying, Reservoir Dogs, it also has Tim Roth and Michael Madsen in it.
That's true. Yeah, that's right.
And the lovely Zoe Bell.
So if you got 3 hours to spare, I recommend The Hateful Eight.
Yeah. Oh God, that is a long one.
How about yourself? What are you watching these days?
So I recently finished the new Disney Plus series, The Mighty Ducks Game Changers. Now, being a hockey person myself, this is the primary reason I ended up watching it. When The Mighty Ducks came out, Mighty Ducks is a kid's movie. So obviously this new Resurgence one is also primarily a kid's movie, but it is filled with a lot of really good nostalgia from the original, I'd say original first two movies at least. Maybe not the third one. But it definitely had some good cameos, good nostalgia. We actually got to see good old Coach Gordon Bombay, aka Emilio, back in action. And I literally finished the last episode of that today. It's nice, 10 episodes, about 30 minutes each. So anybody that liked the
a lot of good fan service
original Mighty Ducks movies, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Anybody that liked the original Mighty Ducks movies, I'd say give it a shot. They do start off in a completely different direction than I expected, and I liked how they did it. So it's not what you originally expect. 10. 10 30-minute episodes. Streaming now on Disney Plus.
Oh, they're only half hour. Okay.
Yeah.
I will have to give that a shot. All right, now it's time to spin.
Break a deal, spin the wheel.
Here we go.
Spin that wheel.
306.
Oh, dear Lord. He's got the laugh.
Oh, yes.
You can't even say it.
We are the
if you could only see him.
Amigos.
Amigos, yes. And amigos forever will be. So the next episode is going to be a musical. You were waiting for that. So you were
this is beautiful. This is beautiful. I need to start recording the spin so people don't think we cheat on this. But no, the 1986 classic Tres Amigos.
Tres Amigos. Well, that's all for this episode. Thank you for listening, and we hope you stay with us through this little experiment. What did you think of Hackers? Let us know on our socials, and we'll be sure to tell you how wrong you are.
Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Check out our website in the show notes to see the full list of movies we'll be covering and our rankings thus far. You can also visit us on our Patreon, where we'll try to post some random outtakes before the final cut.
We'll see you next time
on Cinema Decon. Hack the planet!